Welcome back to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caleb Teskey, and we are back for part 3 with Devon Deyhle from Tall Truck in Danville. Now, Devon, we've covered a lot of ground here. I wanted to ask you about some of the control board proceedings. It seems like things are constantly evolved. Like, this is a very dynamic situation from week to week. Things are just changing. As a guy who's trying to start a business, how do you stay on top of that?
Well, that's a good question because I don't really stay on top of it, to be perfectly honest with you. Because things are so fluid and changing so regularly, and I have been not really going with the week-to-week, day-to-day details or following them because they've been so fluid and they've been so controversial and they've been so changing. So I'm pretty much still, I guess things are just about ready. A lot of things have been decided now, so we're ready to move forward. But as of all prior to now, I haven't really been keeping much on top of it. I've been keeping my head down, keeping myself working, and just trying to not cause too many waves.
Well, let me tell you, man, I've spent about 4 months trying to catch up on all this stuff, and it is a lot of time. And honestly, I'm not sure where a guy like you would find that extra time to invest in watching those meetings and, the public commenting and responding to emails.
I really don't. So I've actually been trusting others to hopefully do the right thing without any of my input. And I don't know if that's necessarily been the case, but I'm going to abide by what it is that they've decided in the end and move forward.
All right. Yeah, that seems let's skip down. So you mentioned that.
Bring it on. If it's a difficult question, bring it on. I'm not.
No. That was just a dumb question. I write everything I think, and then I just kind of go down the list and it's like, oh, that was dumb. Why did I even put that on there? What are your impressions of the control board? I'm sure you've seen a little bit of what
I've been to one of the meetings that they had up in East Burke. Okay. And it seemed to me, my impression there, I guess, was that, it was some time ago. It was back during the beginning of the winter, I think, when they had that up at Burke Mountain. But regardless, it seemed to me like they weren't really that knowledgeable as to maybe the idiosyncrasies of the cannabis industry and the needs, and that necessarily even at that point, they still really seemed to me to be pretty naive to things. So that was my initial impression on the one meeting that I had gone to. I'm sure that they've gained a ton of experience and knowledge in this time through a lot of input from others. But I guess at that time, the naivety is what I had felt that they possessed.
Have you watched any of the other meetings since then?
No, I have not. Okay. No, I have not.
Fair enough. So that, and that's one thing I said, there's a lot of great growers out there. There's a lot of great business people out there, but there's not a lot of people that have the time to run a business and grow and follow all the legislation and the amendments and the control board rules and all of this stuff. It's just a lot to take out. I feel like you need a team for something like that. You need dedicated employees. Just go watch the board meeting or something.
Right, exactly. You'd need your corporation with that section of your corporation is in charge of keeping on top of ever-changing rules and tailoring our business model to match that. You need a team for that kind of stuff. And Jesus, being a mason, being a cultivator, being a distributor, being a social media expert, quote unquote, there's not a lot of time left for dedicating to other stuff. And I still have a kid. I still have to be a dad. And so that's another aspect.
Forgot about that. Yeah. Jeez. Damn, man. Now let me shift a little bit. I wanted to ask about these big MSOs that have moved in or bought up the medical licenses, Curaleaf and Slang and Ianthus. I know we talked a little bit about this when I came up to your place. Talk about your thoughts on what impact, if any, they may have on the retail market here.
Well, I've never really been intimidated by them. Even when I was getting started, I've never felt intimidated by them. And I guess intimidated might not be the right word, but I've not felt like they've got they don't really have a good reputation to begin with for the quality of their product. From what I understand and everything I've heard is they've got a bad reputation to begin with. So that initial thought has made me think that they weren't really that much of a competition for a lot of us. That being said, I've also been concerned that they might be able to potentially, with deeper pockets than many of us, be able to flood the market with low-priced weed at a loss for a period of time in order to drive out some of us that aren't able to last at a loss like that. So I've got varied feelings about them, but I don't know as if they will be that big of a competition. I might be very wrong. I might be completely wrong about this. They might come and grow the best weed and take up all the shelf space in the majority of the dispensaries. They might be able to do that, but I just don't. I think that the Vermont way, the Vermont mindset, I think that Vermont's very much about Vermont, and people coming to Vermont will want to be trying Vermont and supporting the local Vermont growers, cultivators. So they may have a big impact, but I'm not counting on them having a tremendous impact doesn't make me nervous.
Interesting. That was certainly one of my concerns, or one thing that grabbed my attention when I started looking at this story. Like, oh, here goes another industry being sold off to out-of-state corporations. It's just like the dairy industry, like here we go again. That's what it felt like.
Well, something that's interesting you say that. And it is a reality. It is a reality. So one has to, I've been working for myself since I was 20 years old. So I've been a businessman my whole life and had to go through plenty of ups and downs and recessions and high points in the economy and all that stuff. And
market collapse.
Many different, plenty of them over the years. And it's the reality is business is business. And you have to compete, and regardless of if it's right or wrong, if Vermont gets it right or wrong, these bigger corporations, we have to be able to compete against them, and they're going to be there. They're going to do it, and that's just the way it is. We might battle it as much as possible, but there's so much special interest up there that are spending money and getting the laws crafted the way that they would work best for them. That that's just the reality of it. I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to fucking compete with those guys. I'm ready to compete with them. Yep.
You would go.
Bring it on.
You're a super hardworking guy, man. Like, even Dan was telling me a little bit about just how much work you've been. And I saw your lab notebook down there when I was in your basement getting the tour. Like, you just got stacks of books, and those are the kind of people I think that you need to compete against the big. Like, this isn't gonna, like, rinky-dink little operations, of inexperienced growers are not going to be able to cut it. We need the cream of the crop here, the talented guys that have been doing this for a long time, and
that can work hard and work efficiently and work competently.
Right.
And you're interested. One of the points you just made is interesting. There's a lot of, when you size up, when you go from, you might grow the most wonderful weed in your tent or in your closet, you might do the most wonderful stuff, but sizing up workloads, workforce, there's a lot to learn, and to just jump from one level to another level, boom, like that, and expect to all go smoothly and perfectly is pretty naive way to think too. So that's just another aspect of business. You don't want to hope for the best. You want to make your decisions based on your best, what's smart, not what you hope.
Well, also things like accounting, like if you're just a black market grower, you're just selling eights to your buddies, and taking cash. That's one thing, but you're going to run a business where you have all of these expenses and, insurance and all of this stuff. Like, you got to have someone that's pretty good at accounting. or you're gonna have to
Yep.
pay someone,
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's another really important aspect. And having been in business my whole life, I know a lot of that wrinkles that go on in being self-employed. And I've got a really good accountant I've been working with for the last 30 years. So, and he's
Is
on
that
board with
someone?
Tall Truck.
Is that someone you could tell us about, or the name?
His name is not yet,
Okay.
but he's right in St. Johnsbury. I
Okay.
know that he's super, super busy, and I don't even know if he takes on anybody else. But for me, he's going to start expanding what he does. He's always done my masonry accounting, but he's
Cool.
going to start taking on Tall Truck accounting.
Oh, you know what I wanted to ask is if growers are going to be able to sell direct to consumers, or if everything's going to have to go through wholesale. I don't remember where they landed on that. Do you?
I don't know where they landed on that either, but I have some thoughts on it.
Sure.
Let me just share them because they're probably
Please.
controversial to some.
Please do.
And I love to be controversial. Not I don't love to, but I can be. That I don't know yet either. Like, for example, at the farmer's market, so to speak, kind of a thing. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Or, I mean, that seems to me like a really good way for the consumer if they could go to the farmer's market and purchase
That's a great
cannabis
example.
But for me, one of my thoughts is on that is I intend on being in a dispensary. And I don't necessarily have time to do farmers markets. And I suppose one could have a farmers market branch again as well. But for me, I intend on being in dispensaries. And if folks are going to farmers markets and buying their supply of weed for the week, they're not going to go to where Tall Truck is going to be present. So for me, that direct to sale to consumer, I totally understand it. I'm not necessarily really against it, but I do see it as potentially being impactful to my business model.
And I assume, like, if you're not allowed to sell directly to consumers, then you have to sell to a wholesaler who's then sort of setting the price for your product. Like, it's not like, how much can I sell this for? It's like, how much will this guy now offer me for it, And you've kind of you've reversed the customer and business transaction kind of.
I totally understand, because they're going to try, the middleman's going to want me to give it to them for as cheaply as I can, and they're going to want the next person up the line to pay as much as they can get out of them. Yep, I totally understand that as well. So I'm not sure. I don't, I've got, that's one of these topics that I've got conflicting thoughts about. So, but I don't know how it's turned out in the end.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how they.
I'll dig into that. I'll get on that.
Yeah,
I'll check back with you. Let me ask you. This is an issue that came up a couple times with different people that don't want their name mentioned, but we were talking about gun rights as it pertains to cannabis company owners. And one guy was saying he's going to have a dispensary, and he's got I think they've got a cultivation facility somewhere, and he likes to carry a gun on him. He says he carries it all the time. And the cannabis business is very cash heavy business. A lot of the times, you guys got a lot of cash at the end of the night in your dispensary, or you got a giant grow room or an outdoor grow with a ton of plants. And, sometimes people like to try to rob those places. And he said he's worried about that. He said his lawyer has told him there's not going to be any guns in the dispensaries. And he said, well, I don't like that. I should be able to protect my own business and my own investment, just like any other business owner. What are your thoughts on the gun rights?
Well, my goodness, if that fellow is not allowed to have his firearm on him while he's in his dispensary with all that cash and all those valuables and potential target for thieves and for robbers, I'm very much against that. He needs to be able to maintain his arms on his premises to protect himself and his employees and anybody that might be in that structure, as well as the money.
Sure.
So yes, if that's going to be, I haven't actually even contemplated that aspect of it, because for me, having firearm with me at all times is a very important part of my life. And the right to be able to do that is a very important right that I believe in firmly. that I hadn't even thought about it because it's just such a natural thing for me. But I should
That's why
have thought about that.
I thought I'd mention. I hadn't thought about it either, and a few people mentioned it to me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" You get one guy actually. He was like, "Hey, remember with the federal, status of weed being still illegal, if you get caught with a firearm and a bag of weed, that could be a federal crime under the Controlled Substance Act or something, because it's still technically a controlled substance." And I was like, "Holy shit!" I didn't even think about that. And the government has said, we're not going to focus on these cases. We're going to let it slide, but it's still illegal. And if they wanted to prosecute you, I believe they still have that option, which makes
I'm
it,
sure if they wanted to, they could.
but like you could drive around with a ton of booze in your trunk and drinking and get hammered and get arrested for a DUI and still keep your gun rights. But if you, it's a strange dichotomy or double standard really that I think is bullshit.
I agree completely.
Yeah. And then also, if you can't carry your own firearm, now you're going to have to hire a private security team. What are we talking about here?
That's a good question too.
Pay a cop to stand at the door. What are we doing? So I was curious about that. Yeah. Think about that one too. We'll circle back and follow up on this at some point.
I've wondered about these dispensary owners, that's another thought. I mean, they've got to have such security, but will they need to have some kind of a manned security personnel there?
Right. Especially if none of the people working there are allowed to carry firearms. I mean, then someone who's thinking about doing a robbery is just going to be like, well, no one's got a gun in there. So
that's an easy target. Let me go right in there and take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, somebody's got to protect it because people do try to rob weed grow. I mean, that's a problem as old as weed growing.
Right. Exactly.
All right, cool. Let me ask you, who are some of the guys around Vermont that you really maybe look up to or respect for their skills or their advice or things of that nature?
Well, I keep to myself pretty much, so I actually don't really know many of the other growers in the area. I just, for the most part, know Nick Matai there at Forbins, and he's somebody who, as I mentioned earlier, I greatly respect and have learned a lot from. There's a fellow Bushy Beards who I don't know him personally, nor have we spoken or really texted much, but from his approach and his social media and the little that I know of him, he's somebody else who I've got respect for, and that I hope to see him on all the shelves and all the dispensaries in the state too. I've seen Forbins, Tall Truck, Bushy Beard. He's another one that I do have a lot of respect for in the state.
You guys will be the big three. There you go, the triumvirate.
We'll see. I don't know that.
Derek was just on my show a couple weeks ago.
I haven't seen his interview. I saw that, but I haven't seen his yet.
I thought it was solid, man. I met him at Stowe Cider, and I just I actually got to this event late. It was like a 4:20 event. I got there way late. Everyone was leaving, and I was like, "Fuck!" I missed the whole thing. And and then I saw Nick and Angela there, and they were sitting. Nick was sitting talking to this guy, and I was like, "I don't know who that guy is," but I was just eavesdropping. I was like, "Oh shit, this is a good conversation." I walked over, and that was Derek. Yeah, he's another guy that could just talk for hours, and it's crazy to hear people talking openly about it. It's awesome. Like, this is stuff we've had to keep secret for just ever, and now you've got professional, experienced growers like sharing information and conferencing and trading ideas, and I think that's super cool, and it's going to be really beneficial for the Vermont growers if they can work together.
Well, it's just so amazing. We're doing amazing things with Tall Truck. I play pool every Tuesday nights with some friends, as you see my pool table. And this last Tuesday night, I had the most unlikely pool partner who's going to be my returning partner for months to come, who is law enforcement. Who is a law enforcement officer. He's
right.
And we were smoking weed all night long. Playing pool. My partner's a law enforcement officer, and you know what? We weren't doing anything illegal.
Smoking weed with a cop. That's
no, he wasn't smoking. He wasn't smoking.
Oh, okay.
He was in the room, but me and the three guys who we've always smoked weed for the last 8 years. We've been playing pool every Tuesday nights. But he didn't partake, but he was present, and he was my pool partner, and He's still a good friend. Even having, I told him what he's going to be encountering if he wanted to be my partner.
Did you guys
And he
talk
came
about
in
it
and
at all? Did he just mention
fucking
it
had
at
an
all?
awesome
Or
night. Nope, not at all. It was a totally normal night. It was a totally normal night. So I said this to my friends later. I'm like, dude, can you believe what we just did last night? Like, something? He's just a regular guy. He's a good guy. I'm like, yeah, he is. He's just regular guy. For years, we've had a reason to be anti-police because for years they've been busting our ball cannabis. But for me, as a 51-year-old man who loves to smoke a lot of cannabis, I don't have any reason to harbor anything against the cops anymore. I don't drink and drive. I don't drink and I don't drink and drive. I smoke weed. I don't commit crimes. I don't have any reason to be, anti-cops like I used to be with.
no, you said
Cops, fucking
you,
cops, fucking cops. I don't need to be that way anymore.
you said you actually donate to some cops or the Canine Association, something about bowling passes for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. I donate to the Canine Association of Vermont, which to me is an important organization. They help supply health needs and gear needs for Vermont canine dogs. And
No,
I think that canines are a really wonderful way of combating drugs. So I'm happy. And also the canine dogs are not trained to smell for cannabis anymore. And they haven't for many, many years.
that's right.
So
let me ask you this.
they're looking for that. Yes.
Let me ask you this. You said that I believe you said you hate crime and you hate drugs when I met at your house.
I'm
So
sure I very well might have.
So let me ask you this, though. This is going to be a little tangent that's not on my list. What do you think about legalizing all drugs as a way to sort of stop these conflicts between drug users and police? Because I feel like so many police interactions are due to like possessions or little stupid things like that. And it leads to, if in Vermont, if you get caught with over 2.5 grams of cocaine, you're a felon. That'll follow you around for your life. Like long in a, do you think that legalizing drugs could help reduce some of the tension between the public and the police?
God damn, dude, that's a difficult one. It's interesting you say that because I watched something on the news I think it might have been the state of Vermont. They're trying to pass a law maybe in Burlington that allows for small amounts of all drugs to not be a crime or to be legal in some way. But anyhow, and that one initially made me think, fuck, I don't know about that. Do I want fentanyl of a minimal amount, somebody to be able to carry around a minimal amount of fentanyl if they get busted with it and not get in trouble for it? But then do I want somebody with under 2.5, or anybody with 7 grams of cocaine, which I know is a very different beast than fentanyl, to be having that felony charge being dragged around for the rest of life? Something I haven't thought about that. I just heard it occurred to me, but I didn't take any time to really think about that one. But that's one that I will think about because that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Next time we talk, I'm going to come back to that one right there.
Okay. Yeah. And we can, because I'd like to hear your point of it too.
Well, I'll tell you my point. I think all drugs should be legal. I've seen what they've done in Portugal. I've looked at a number of different studies and a lot of the numbers over there, and it seems to be working. And the concerns that they have is like, oh, if we legalize drugs, kids are going to get a hold of the drugs. That's always the concern. It's like the kids and that kind of thing. And they haven't seen that spike in teen usage. In fact, in like the 13 to 15-year-old age group, they've actually seen drug use go down among those kids.
Good.
So yeah, they've seen rates of STDs and HIV infections going down because people have access to clean needles. They've seen robberies go down. I can't remember what else off the top of my head, but so far the results seem positive. I'm all in favor of full legalization of all drugs. If you got to tax it and regulate it, it's not, honestly, I think that model I don't love it. I wish there was a different way to go about it, but sure, tax it and regulate it. Make sure people are getting safe heroin or whatever, so they're not shooting up some fentanyl laced bag behind a dumpster in Burlington and they die of an overdose. Give them a place to go shoot up. We have places to go drink. They're called bars. That's a safe injection site for alcohol. That's the way I see it anyway. And I feel like if you want to go home and shoot heroin after you get out of work or you're done working your 19-hour shifts, that's, this is a free country and you should be able to put whatever you want in your own body, I think. as long as you're not robbing people or breaking the law or bothering anybody, I have no problem with it. And I think it really would. It would unclog the court systems, I think, so the courts could focus on real crimes. And yeah, I think especially in Vermont, where alcohol is like half of our economy. And people drive here from other states to come to my bar just to taste our beers. Why shouldn't they be able to do other drugs like that? Alcohol's a drug, cocaine's a drug. They're all just different drugs, and it seems weird to me that we treat them differently. I mean, look at the damage alcohol does, all the cirrhosis and the health problems and all probably the burden on our healthcare system, but we celebrate alcohol, so it's that's another weird double standard to me. And
Yep.
yeah. Do you think your friend, the cop, would interview with me? I've been trying so hard to get a cop on here.
No, definitely not. And something, I might want to have that section edited out if possible.
Shit.
That Tuesday night pool. I'm sorry. Let me think about that.
I don't even know if I think I can edit out sections. I've never edited anything out, and I try not to.
Okay.
Maybe you can call and ask. If it's a big deal, I'll chop it out. But shit. Now I'm all nervous. I'm like, fuck, he's gonna come after me now.
No, he's not. Nope, he's not, because he's not even going to hear the interview or know that that he is the one.
We could chat about that when we get done, and we
weren't doing anything illegal.
Right.
We weren't doing anything illegal.
Sure. And you didn't say his name or anything, so I don't know who he is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was a touching story, and I thought he was probably a cool cop, and I'd like to meet him.
He's a really cool cop, actually. Yeah. He's a really good guy.
I haven't met a lot of cool cops in my life. I met one recently in Danville at a party, but not many. So I would really like that, but I'll keep looking.
Even my buddies who I've been playing pool with and smoking tons of weed with forever, they're like, dude, are you going to bring him here? And I brought him here. And even at the end, the one who's more difficult about it, he totally enjoyed his time with him and looks forward to playing together next week.
See, and I think, you know what I said? I'm going to leave this kid's name out too, but he works in law enforcement. I actually didn't know. I met him at the courthouse unknowingly when I was going there. And then I met him at a 4th of July party. He actually knew about me. I didn't know he was a cop for a year and a half after we met. So I got to meet him as like a regular human being at a party. He wasn't wearing his uniform. He came with his girlfriend to one of my best friend's house, and we all hung out on the 4th of July. We were drinking and smoking and having a great time. And I thought he was super cool. I actually sent him a message. I was like, dude, we had some good chats there, And then a year and a half later, I'm going back into the courthouse, and I see him standing there at the door. And he's like, oh, and I was like, oh shit. And he was like, yeah, we kind of had a running joke going on to see how long it would take you to figure out what I do for a living. And I was like, well, a year and a half, motherfucker. and we laughed, and I really thought that was an interesting experience, because you don't normally meet law enforcement on a human to human level. It's a authority figure to guy who did something bad level, and when you meet here, instead of like this, it sort of changes the whole dynamic. And we had a great time, and I liked the kid. And I told him that. I was like, man, you're like the first cop that I've met that's cool. Like, I had a good time hanging out with you, and we should go shooting sometime,
Totally. You know what? I play soccer in a men's league, and one of the teams that we play against is Trooper Heavy Team. And we've been playing against them for years, probably 10 years we've been playing against these guys. And we get out there, and you're battling it out there on the soccer field. You're getting up close, you're hacking each other, you're pushing, you're holding. And at the end of the game, you all shake hands, and it's been a really good battle out there on the field. But these guys, we have been having a really good time playing against them, and we got a good camaraderie over the course of years of playing against each other that we've developed with this police heavy team too, which I found an interesting dynamic as far as seeing them on a, not, as you just mentioned, an authority and a guy who's done something wrong level. Seeing them on a personal level, I guess it's just opened my eyes more because I've been out there battling it right against these guys, and we've become, quote unquote friends over the course of the years.
Who's got the advantage in the all-time win-loss record?
Something, that's a good question. Those guys might have the advantage.
I was hoping you were putting the beating on.
No, they're really good. They're in shape, and we're a country boy team where we play out of. We're Danville's country boy team.
And I liked what you said too about just, oh, I don't have to like hate cops anymore, like, being all bitchy with cops, like, because I've had a very adversarial relationship with cops in my life, which, um, some of which was justified, some of which was just me being a dick because I was drunk or something, running my
Uh-huh.
fucking mouth. But I've been roughed up by a couple cops and locked up for some absolutely ridiculous shit. And yeah, and I've taken it out on other dudes that had absolutely nothing to do with those incidents, just because they're wearing a fucking uniform. It's like, you look like that other guy who kicked my ass for no reason. But I don't want to be like that. I actually uh see, some people are gonna fucking hate me for this one, but I actually like the idea of police. It's comforting to think that there are people out there who are just waiting for you to need help, and you call them and they come help you. I like that idea. It's a great concept, I think. And you know, uh, it's just not the
I'm
way
not
that
one of those ones that's going to hate you for that. I
yeah,
think that's a really valid
right. Well,
point.
I have a lot of fucking all cops are bad kind of friends, which I respect their position too. But it's like, I
Mhm.
don't feel that way, man, and I don't want to hate cops or anyone else really. Like, I feel this way because they have fucked me over a few times, lied to me, tried to get me to let them search my car, just kind of harassed me, whooped my ass one time down in Worcester, and it's scary when you run into them again. You're always wondering, like, oh shit, like, what's gonna happen this time? Like, last time I tried to cooperate, I got my ass kicked. Another time I ran my mouth and nothing happened. Like, I don't know what to
Right.
do, and it makes it very uncomfortable. And I don't want it to be like that because, like, I'm not really doing anything wrong either. I like to smoke, and I got some guns and stuff, but I'm really trying not to bother anybody. But I really would like to have a less confrontational relationship with law enforcement. Like, when you pull me over, don't yell at me because I only rolled my window down halfway and tell me I have to roll it down all the way. Like, that's not true. I got it down far enough so we can talk. Here's my papers. Let's do the thing. Don't start this off by bullshitting with me. Like, just be honest. And I'll be honest. Well, I don't know about totally honest, but we don't need to fight about this shit. There's real problems in Vermont that need to be solved, and you know, we should let them focus on their resources on shit that actually matters, and not just you know telling me my eyes
Yeah.
look red when they pull me over for going 7 miles over the speed limit. Hmm. But I like that. I really would like to try to. That's why I'm trying to get a
Well,
cop to
try,
come on.
man.
I'm trying to
Yep,
bridge
try.
the divide and sort of,
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
I've been
Listen,
that's the kind of person that I've been my whole life. I've been one of those guys that's bridged the divide. I've coached a lot of cops kids too in baseball and
oh no
soccer
shit.
and all that stuff. So I've been one of those guys because I've been a Mason. Everybody knows my whole life, my whole reputation. I've always had cannabis be part of. He's going to come do some nice work at your house, but you can expect him to be smoking weed at your house while he's working there. That's been what I've come with. And then that same reputation brought me when I'm coaching these kids. I have the reputation of somebody who's a firm believer in cannabis, and I'm coaching these kids and the cops kids, and they fucking have loved me. They, texting me and good things. And so anyhow, I've been one of those bridgers, and it's been important for me to, because I've just naturally been that way, to always take that approach.
And when you started packaging your stuff and pumping it out, were you concerned at all
I
about the law enforcement presence, or something going down like that?
I sure as heck was. I had many sleepless nights just thinking that I'm going to wake up and the cops are going to be banging on my door at 5:30 to search my property. I have been, but I I just I just was hoping for good karma. I've built a lot of social equity in my life, a lot of social equity, and I've been putting a lot of it to use to some degree, I feel, in the last 4 years or so.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to have law enforcement sort of on board, and that's
Yes,
why I
I
want to get a
agree.
cop on. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to have their perspective, because it's nice to be able to talk about this shit openly. And it would be cool to
Hmm.
be able to do it with law enforcement as well, because it's coming. It's going to be legal, and we're going to start selling it. Like, let's get on the same page here.
Well, I've got a good friend who's an accountant for the sheriff's department in St. Johnsbury, and she says that the police there are all happy that it's legal and happy that it's going legal. It's one less thing they have to worry about, and it
St.
keeps
J
people
at the
calm.
sheriff's. Did you say the sheriff or the
JJ,
police department?
Sheriff's,
Okay.
Caledonia County Sheriff's
Dean
Department.
Dean
Yeah,
Shatney.
good
Yeah,
friend of
yeah.
mine worked there. And
Yeah. Okay.
she says that, yeah, that the cops there are happy about it. It keeps people calm. You know, they're happy about the legalization of it and the
Maybe I'll hit them
recreational.
up. Yeah, that's a good call. Thanks for that. We only got about 4 minutes here, so I want to ask you
Let's do it.
I want to ask you if you have any events coming up that you'd like to throw out there.
You know something, there's an event in June 4th coming up that we are not part of, but it's an important event. It's for some improvements to a skate park in Johnson, and they're looking for donations. You know, they need to, like, I think it's like $30,000-$40,000, something like that, to get some concrete work done there to expand it. So there's going to be an event there on June 4th that I will be there. We'll be, you know, being part of it in some degree, but that's a really kind of important one coming up. But then I think it's the 19th of June, we are having a really fun skate event in Bristol, Vermont, which is a small town. I think Emerald Rose Grows is in that town. I'm not sure. You may have even interviewed that fellow. I'm not sure, but
We've chatted.
anyhow, it's in his town in Bristol. We're having an event on the 18th of June then, and it's a nice, small little park. It should be a very fun time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One final note. You mentioned there's a lot of tension sort of floating around the cannabis industry, and it is a small state, and I've noticed some of that. And you said you've had a few detractors yourself. What are people's complaints, and what would you have to say to people about, like, you know, what are the two biggest complaints you get, and what would you say about that?
As far as the biggest complaints, I guess I'm not sure what the biggest complaints are. That I hear secondhand that people talk a lot of, you know, unpleasant stuff about Tall Truck, and I think a fair bit of it is, what is he doing? He's doing this too soon. What's he doing? And this has been for some time. You know, he can't be doing that. That's not legal, and people are getting upset with me about that. But another one of the big ones is me having Vermont's finest, me advertising Tall Truck as Vermont's finest. So I think that might be the biggest one that people get upset about. And you know something, back in 2018, when I decided to put that on there, I definitely probably was not Vermont's finest. I had a long ways to go, and I may not be Vermont's finest at this point either. I grow what I grow, and I'm proud of what it is that I do. And I'm sure there's really great cultivators out there that grow an even finer product, but it's what I put on my pouches at the beginning. And
what else are you going to put?
Vermont's on there.
What are you going to put? Vermont's second best weed, fourth best in the sativa category.
So regardless, I'm keeping it on there, and I don't mean any offense to anybody about it at all, because I know where it is. I know where I stand. I know who I am, and I know that weed, I'm very proud of it, and it's ethically grown, and I'm very morally content with where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Cool. Well, it's definitely I can see the improvement, and boy, you've definitely been putting in your work, man. And we got to cut this off here, but before we go,
I'm going to keep on working my tail off. I'm going to keep on working my tail off and doing my best to be.
Honestly, I could squeeze another half hour. I could squeeze another half hour out of this, but I got another one coming up with Ben Wilcox here from Off Piece Farms.
We'll do it another time, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
I got to get to too.
Yeah, we definitely will follow up on this, but thank you so much for your time and driving down to the library and picking me up on that muddy ass road when the fucking roads were too bad for me to drive on. That was really nice of you. And I can't wait to talk to you again. And I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon, Caleb.
Yeah, take care.
You too. Take care.